pressure cooker tucked in the line, and I'm in the streets prowling, wilding like a wild pirate. But I'm still shining, hydro the wrist, got my neck cold, deep freezer the fist blower. And I'm right back in again, back at 10. And these blocks like my name carved in, yeah. And the flow, black magic, black hammers, hot like spatulas, flip out your actors.
That really puts the Bay back on the map. Mr. Virgil Hunter, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well this early evening. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, doing great.
Doing good. Doing good. Hey, so Virgil, you know, we obviously we asked for you to come on because we want to hear your analysis and we want to hear your breakdown of what you think is going to happen Saturday night and what each man should bring in order to become the victor.
Really summing up the way I've honestly summed this up is that you have some questions to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
We can go in theory all we want. You know, I know Floyd's technical abilities and everything. I think one thing that people do overlook though is Mayweather's physical strength. And, you know, Victor's has been in the forefront quite a bit. His punch and his physical strength, and Floyd's never gets talked about. But you have a very, very, very physically strong fighter there. But again, I'll go back to the questions that are going to be asked. And all the questions that people are asking, they're going to be answered. And it's simple as that. That's what makes these fights so exciting. There's questions out there, and these questions will be answered. They're not going to be lingering, hanging in the smoke. Every question will be answered, and that's pretty much how I sum it.
Let me ask you this, because, you know, we had a conversation a while, I think it was like a year ago, about footwork. Does it make you cringe, and do you think that this fight could be a little bit more competitive if Victor Ortiz, rather than working on hand speed and punching power, if they worked on footwork? Because when I watch him, I sometimes cringe at his footwork. You know, it's just, to me, it seems like he's more fighting, trying to stay up balanced.
Well, I do have to agree with you there, and I'm. It's funny that you mentioned that because it's quite obvious that had to be one of the first things that Floyd identified in Victor that would make him an opponent. He stumbles forward. If you make him lead, he's vulnerable. If you in a range where he can just take that half step, he's a little better. He does his best work when you're along the ropes and in certain areas in the ring. And I'm sure they've studied that, but I would concur with that. And you don't want to get too technical about it, but, you know, we have an old saying, you know, when you first start learning how to fight, that we're able to identify what was taught first. Hands first, then feet, or feet first, then hands.
Right.
And you see, it's obvious that hands first was taught in Victor Ortiz.
Right.
And you're right. I mean, in order to fire the tank, you got to be able to get the tank in position. And in order to save the tank, you got to be able to get the tank out of harm's way. So it's quite obvious that's probably one of the most major flaws that Mayweather identified that really, really could put it into his favor. It leaves Ortiz open for a lot of pot shotting. It leaves him open for good, strong shots coming back because Umberto hit him with some good, strong, solid shots.
Right.
And a lot of times Ortiz was off balance for that to happen. So I do agree with you.
You know, when I look at Floyd, and I was talking about this a little earlier when the radio show started off, I was talking about how a lot of guys with that Floyd stance that he likes to use that shoulder to protect his chin, and then he cuffs his left arm over his stomach, and he tucks in that right hand, that a lot of fighters, for some reason, Virgil, end up squaring up with him. And they end up not fighting a boxing match, but more of an ugly square-up match. Why do you think that some fighters fall into that trap with him? You know, where they don't try to step around his shoulder; they step into his right hand. You know, which I always think that's kind of funny how they try to go towards his left, which is making that right hand a lot closer for him to land.
It seems like everybody who fights, as a matter of fact, gets caught up on the shoulder position.
Right.
And all it is, it's a theory of pointing the gun. And, you know, you have guys who will keep their hands out in front of them, and they have those hands pointing at you. So if I go hunting a deer, I'm not going to have the gun pointed to the sky, a gun pointed this way, pointed to the ground. I'm going to have the gun pointed at you if I'm going to hit this target. So his shoulder is really a mechanism for lining you up, and people don't realize that. You're absolutely right. They try to get out of the way of the shoulder and maneuver around the shoulder, or the worst thing you can do is try to attack the shoulder. Look at the drills. Look at the drills. When you really watch Floyd's drills, after every combination, where's the tap, tap, tap?
Right on the shoulder.
On his shoulder. Okay, so after doing this year in and year out, thousands and thousands of times, that's his timing mechanism. He's able to, so it's not even a matter of me beating this. You have to realize that this is where he times you the best. He times you the best because he's so used, he picks up on everything easier there. It's like night driving. Some of us, as we get older, we're driving at night. We don't like it as much anymore. We need our glasses or whatever because we have to zero in. It's like that bat's radar. That's his radar right there. And if you pay attention to the beginning of it, which is the drills, you never see him drill any other way. He only drills one way. That's his timing mechanism. That's what's going to throw everybody off and keep him in the game for a long time. He doesn't try anything new. Everything is built off that tap, tap, tap in his rhythm right there. And if you get in there, you're in his rhythm. He brings you to his rhythm. A lot of fighters have to be in rhythm off of the opponent. He's in rhythm right away because he brings you into his rhythm. He appears to be vulnerable to you, but he brings you in the zone of his rhythm, and that's where he's dangerous and lethal for you.
So how do you approach it? Do you try to box with him? Do you do what Castillo did and take him to the ropes, wrap him up? Do you mix it up? How do you maintain fighting your fight as opposed to falling into what he does?
Well, it's funny you mentioned Castillo. When we look at that first fight, it was obvious in that style's infancy stage. Because when you look at Floyd in the amateurs, he had to be more offensive. He didn't have time to employ that. But once he turned pro and had the time to employ it, it became quite obvious that this was his rhythm. Castillo attacked the rhythm at the time, and it was just a matter of physical strength. Sure, physical strength can overwhelm that. But it's obvious that he did something about that because the next time they fought, he couldn't overwhelm him. So, and Haddon, when you look at the Haddon fight, Haddon tried to overwhelm it, but he has adjusted. When you try to overwhelm his rhythm, he has a back rhythm. How many times when Haddon came in there, if you look at Floyd is very, very, very meticulous. What I like about him is if Floyd could hit you between the eyes with a BB gun, he's not going to just reach out and get a 9mm for you because you handed it to him and he hasn't hit you with it yet. He'll stick with that BB gun. So he hit Haddon underneath all night long. The right hand whips right on the money. All night long he hit him with it. The same punch all night long. So he does have a backup plan if you try to overwhelm the rhythm there. Go across your throat. He can get physical with you if you cross that line.
Yeah.
And he knows how to get physical with you. And if you look at his preparation, his sparring partners are big guys, big physical, strong guys, and he prepares for that. So you have Lattimore in camp, you have Saku Powell in camp. Yeah.
But they're all guys that are almost going to be the same weight that Ortiz will be
bigger.
the night of the fight.
Bigger. We give Victor his credit off of the Berto fight. You have to. He overcame a lot of circumstances there. But, sometimes the old timers say when you see the sawdust, the mill is not far away. So what happens when you start getting...
I like that.
And then on the flip side of that, everybody he has fought has hurt him. When you really stop and think about it, Peterson hurt him bad. So it's Berto hurt him. There's a flip side to everything. So it's going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah, it is.
Ortiz has got some flaws to him, and I think one of them comes off of the other. He eats right hands like candy, and that's usually what hurts him. And a lot of it's because he comes straight in, but he has a tendency to move to his left, unlike what a southpaw should do, which is pivot out, and move to your right. And now I just found out that he's naturally right-handed, and they switched him around because he was more comfortable as a southpaw. Do you think those things are connected, that he just instinctually wants to move to his left, or is it, like you said, just they taught him bad footwork at the beginning, and so he's just got this habit that's hardwired into him?
At 25 years old, and all your life you've been told about your power, sometimes you never find your identity and who you are, and your identity has to be identified in training. Your identity has to be identified from what's good for you and what's bad for you. Yeah, and I concur with you on that. When he goes to his left, he waddles to his left.
Mm-hmm.
He literally lifts both feet up in a duck waddle to his left, which, so if you attack that, he's going to throw the swimming type of punches that he throws. If you let him walk a straight line to you, is when he's at his best. He can take the half step in. He'll usually come with the left hand first and the hook, and the right hook and the left hand off of that. Doesn't use the jab much, which is not a good thing when you're fighting Mayweather. You have to use the jab. Now, when I mean use it, I don't mean necessarily just throw it. But the bottom line is he's at the top. We could go into how he got to the top, but the bottom line is he's at the top. And just that being there alone, you have to give him his props.
So how do you? We'll put you on the spot and just ask, what's your prediction for the fight? How do you see it playing out?
Well, you know what? One thing about my predictions, I don't mind being wrong. Because the nature of the sport, anything can happen. So I don't mind being wrong. But I really, based on what I've seen in the past of Ortiz, the type of punches that he gets hit with, the fact that he can be hurt by guys who are not necessarily big punchers, because I'm one of the few who don't consider Marcos Medina a big puncher. I just consider him heavy-handed.
Right.
He's not a big puncher because he's not a fast, he's not an accurate puncher. He just lays. If you look at the punches he hit Morales with, if he's a big puncher, that fight would have been over before 5 rounds.
Right.
He's not a big puncher. Who has he flattened? Who has he hit in one shot? Pow! And not nobody. Chop went the distance with him. So where's
Morales?
Yeah. He's not a big puncher. He's just heavy-handed. So he needs to learn how to be more accurate. Now, if he taught to be more accurate, he'd be like Julio Cesar Chavez, who was not a big puncher, but who was very heavy-handed. But he learned how to put his punches on the money, and they do damage more quick. They do the damage because he knew where to hit you, when to hit you, and how to hit you. So a heavy-handed fighter that knows where to place his shots, he's going to get you out of there. You're just not going to be able to stand there. So getting back to Victor, he can be hurt. Simple as that. And he can be hurt by guys who don't really punch. When I see this and understanding the accuracy and understanding the preparation and understanding that Mayweather has that brain to sit it. I mean, he sat at ringside and watched the fight for heaven's sakes against Virgil Hunter. And that's a huge advantage other than just seeing the fight on TV. He identified what he needed. I mean, it wasn't too long after that fight that he made the move.
Yeah,
and it was just a brilliant move. A champion, young, strong, could punch, and he's played it up right along with the public. And now here we are. But anything can happen. Anything can happen. But you twisted my arm, I'd say a stoppage inside of 10, Mayweather.
That's right there with my prediction. Yeah, I mean, I got Floyd in 11. I think it's going to look a lot like De La Hoya versus Vargas, where the kid is young and strong early on. It's going to look a little rough for Floyd, and he's going to find that rhythm and tune in with all those things that he does, the right hand. And I think it's going to set him up with the right for a long time, and then late, all of a sudden, you're going to see a left hook that Victor's forgotten all about, and boom goes dynamite, and it's going to be over.
Yeah, I could see that.
Text pitching, I can show you how to lock down buildings, snow plow wrists, chrome out.